Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, December 21st. This is episode 88 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe here on YouTube. Week 16 is here as we get closer and closer to the end of the regular season and closer to the playoffs. Just 3 weeks left as Christmas and the holidays right around the corner. Already 3 games this week so far. Thursday night game and a crazy NFC West showdown between the Rams and the Seahawks. You had 2 matchups yesterday, an NFC East showdown, an NFC North showdown, and now we got a full slate today, and we finish things off tomorrow night with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers on primetime against the 49ers. So lots to look forward to this weekend. DiMari, great to be back. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's been a great, 3 games to start us off for this full slate we got on Sunday. Um, I've never been happier. I can watch some Cowboys football for once where it's meaningless. So, no stress, to be honest, no need to rage. I can just go ahead and enjoy football that doesn't even count anymore as I'm starting to prep for draft boards and those type of things. But for others, for those that watch, that you still have a lot of teams in the playoff standings, in the playoff race. So a lot to get into today. A lot of injuries this past week. So let's get into it.
Yes, definitely. And welcome aboard to the meaningless train with the Eagles win last night. Cowboys officially eliminated. I'm right there with you. I've been there since September. So it's let's enjoy these final 3 weeks together here as both of our teams just look ahead to the draft and look ahead to the offseason. For any of those that want to just ruin your Sunday, Jets Saints on 1:00 CBS, where I don't even know where they're going to televise it. I don't know why they're televising it, but Brady Cook, Tyler Shuck, 3-11, 4-10. I think that should be the primetime game, but I guess we'll see, right? And I put it on at 4 a.m. Nobody would know the difference. So either way, let's dive into it. Lots to discuss today on the podcast. Lots of quarterback news, some injuries, some big news out of Miami with Tua, which we'll break down. But before we get into all that, we'll start and head to Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers, who right now desperately need a win today. Right now are reeling. This was a team that was 6-2 going into their bye week, week 9. They've come out of the bye week. They're 1-5 since. They had back-to-back losses against New Orleans and Atlanta. Atlanta coming on prime time where they lose by 1. You let up the game-winning drive by Kirk Cousins. And you've had a team that has been banged up at parts of this year. Baker Mayfield's been banged up parts of this year. You finally started to get a little healthier with Mike Evans coming back, but they're still losing games and really have to be concerned with Tampa Bay. Even if they go and make the playoffs, this to me just feels like a team that is probably at best a wild card exit and done. And I know they lost last year in the wild card at home to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, but this feels like a team that, even if they make the playoffs, is not going very far. From the coaching with Todd Bowles, you wonder if he's on the hot seat, to Baker, down to the rest of this roster. Where do you feel things stand with this Tampa team? Losers of 5 of their last 6 and go from 6-2 to 7-7, now fighting for their playoff lives, really, over the next 3 weeks, with 2 games coming against Carolina, which is their only way into the playoffs, is through that NFC South title.
Well, first and foremost, for those who watch every week, you have heard the both of us say this every week about the AFC. Now it's the NFC. If you are the 5 seed in the playoffs, you're licking your chops. You are happy to get whoever's playing at 4, which more likely would be Tampa. Because Tampa is just not a very good team. Like you said, they were 6-2, and it seemed like they're broken. They've had injuries, of course. Bucky Irvin missed some time. Mike Evans missed some time. You mentioned Baker's been hurt all year, but it's like you don't want to make excuses for them because they're out there playing. So while you are still out there playing, yes, with injury, you do have to get the job done, and they haven't. And you look at some of the teams they've lost to. You mentioned Atlanta. You mentioned the Saints. Meaningless football. Teams that should be really tanking for draft position right now, and you're going out there and you're losing to those teams. And whether it's you can't score offensively, or for Atlanta's sake, Kyle Pitts has a career game and 3 touchdowns. Like, you can't be balanced on both sides of the ball. So, I think for Tampa, you kind of take a step back and you look and you're like, hey, we were 6-2. If we miss the playoffs, we can't bring Todd Bowles back. A complete blunder like that, like there's no way, considering you also play in arguably the easiest division in football. There's no reason you lose to the Saints. There's no reason you lose to the Falcons. There's no reason you possibly lose to the Panthers 2 times in 3 weeks because no confidence in Tampa today. So, I mean, if Tampa does miss the playoffs or even if they do sneak in and they lose in the wild card, I think it's time to move forward with Todd Bowles and bring someone in that can continue to elevate this team. I just think they've reached their prime or, their ceiling with Todd Bowles, nothing more than a wild card team at best with them.
Yeah, that's what it certainly feels like. You go back to 2023, they beat Philly in the wild card round and then lost to Detroit in what was a pretty close game in the divisional round. Last year, you lose at home to Jaden Daniels, which I guess losing at home to a rookie in the wild card ended up not looking that bad because he ended up going on the road the next week and beat Detroit, the 1 seed, the almighty 15-2 Lions, who a lot of people had going right to the Super Bowl. He then beat them on the road. It's not like he followed it up the next week with a blowout and it was just kind of a 1 week thing against Tampa. But yeah, I mean, it's not just the losses that they've suffered the last 2 weeks against the Saints and the Falcons. Losing to both those teams is bad. Losing to Kirk Cousins and Tyler Shook is bad. It's not like we're watching a Falcons or a Saints team, and I understand Tyler Shook's a rookie, but let's not. He's shown some good things. I know he beat Carolina last week, so even Carolina, we could look at them and say they lost to the Saints. Who does any team want to win this division? But it's not like they're throwing a rookie quarterback out there that's lighting the world on fire and is on this hot stretch. I mean, Tyler Shook's done some good things, but hasn't been great by any means. He's won a couple games. That's about it. He's 3-3 as a starter. That's nothing crazy. And then it's Kirk Cousins and a Falcons team that's probably going to fire their head coach and Raheem Morris at the end of the season. So my point to all of that is to let those two teams walk into your building in December, one of those games on primetime, and lose. One thing to lose to them, it's another thing to lose to them at home back-to-back weeks. Because when you looked at Tampa Bay's schedule, coming out of the bye week, they had New England, Buffalo, and the Rams. And you're like, okay, that's a tough stretch. If you lose those 3 games, you come back with the Cardinals, the Saints, and the Falcons all at home. You only beat the Cardinals by 3, and then you lose to the Saints and the Falcons. This just feels like a team that after these last 2 losses and the way things have gone since the bye week, just feels like a team with kind of the wheels are starting to fall off. And, you mentioned Bowles. If they make the wild card and lose, or if they even just miss the playoffs outright, it's tough to defend him coming back.
Yeah.
And I understand all the injuries, but even when the Bucs are hurt and banged up, they should still be able to beat Atlanta and New Orleans at home. Now, in terms of, I guess, Baker, what have been your thoughts on him? He's been dealing with the injury, not as electric, I guess you want to call it, as last year. He had the shoulder injury that he's been dealing with, was really beat up in that Rams game where they got completely blown out, threw the 2 interceptions. Last couple weeks, he hasn't been right. There's been a lot of misfires. The completion percentage has dropped a lot. Where do you feel things stand with him? Do you should Bucs fans have confidence in him over these final 3 weeks to, let's just put it like it is, outplay Bryce Young 2 of these final 3 games to get this division title?
I think so. I mean, like you said, he hasn't played too well, but we've said this before. If you're a dog, you're a dog. And Baker is a dog. And one thing he's going to do is go out there and compete. As you can see, I mean, if you remember when he got hurt, he was in a sling, and then he came out the next week and still played ball. So he's going to give it his all, and you have to trust Baker to go out there. You're a franchise quarterback. You have to trust him to go out there and get the job done. The only thing is, though, like you've mentioned with the misfires, which is a huge part of why the offense doesn't look as good, has not looked how they looked the first 8 weeks when they were sitting at 6-2. The connection, like Egbuka, has completely disappeared. He was hot, a stretch of time. Him and JSN were 1 and 2 in terms of best receiver in the league. Now Egbuka has not, feel like he hasn't played, in a few weeks. Obviously he's been on the field, but he's just been a non-factor. Evans been hurt. Godwin has slowly kind of, worked his way in back into the offense. Bucky Irvin missed some time, which is a huge aspect to the passing game for Baker with the short screens and the checkdowns and those type of things. So you have your weapons now. So I think we should see Baker. I know this sounds crazy because he is better when he's going out there, being ultra aggressive, making plays using his legs. I think dealing with the injuries, the next 3 weeks, obviously you want to preserve your body for playoff time. You got to find a balance. You got to find that balance of when to put on, your super Baker cape and go out there and make a play, and when you should let your weapons around you make plays. You have the guys to do it. It's a tough spot for him, but I mean, this is a guy with a lot of experience, playoff win. You got to trust Baker.
Yeah, and you look at, I think you're spot on with that last assessment. Is if there was two quarterbacks in his matchup, who has the more experience, who has the more proven track record, it is Baker Mayfield as opposed to Bryce Young, who's really kind of in this situation for the first time in terms of chasing down a playoff spot and chasing down an opportunity to, as bad as it seems, a home playoff game, which, like we say in the AFC, it is crazy that there is it's just wild. Just paint this picture for a second, because with the way Thursday night went, there is a world where the Rams will either have to travel to Tampa Bay or Carolina for a playoff game. That is just crazy to think about, that a 12 or 13 win Rams team, we'll see what happens over these next 2 weeks, might have to travel to a 9-8 Buccaneers or a 9-8 Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers did beat the Rams, 3-4 weeks ago now, or at home. So I guess, you could put that out there as say anything could happen, but then the week prior, the Rams destroyed the Bucs. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But, I do wonder too, kind of just when you look at the Bucs, this to me, a lot of these struggles and kind of the season as a whole, and you even mentioned Emeka Egbuka, who had such a good start to the season and has really fallen off these last couple of weeks, kind of as the team he has a little bit. You feel like they're kind of feeling the absence of Liam Cohen a bit too? At all? You feel like that's part of it? Just when you think, Josh Grizzards, of course, has taken over now as the OC. And I don't want to act like this has been a team that's struggled all year, but down the stretch here when it matters most, they're losing games to Kirk Cousins and Tyler Shook. They're getting demolished on primetime against the Rams. They really were not. The Buffalo game, they put up points. Defense was terrible, so you can't blame that on the offense. And then they lose to New England. Just from a coaching standpoint, you feel that falls on the plate too. And you wonder, are there Bucs fans that wish they promoted Liam Cohen potentially and had him as the head coach? I know that's such revisionist history, but where do you stand with that?
It's funny you say that, because I actually have that starred in my notes about how important that he was. And also kind of funny, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, just like, if Liam Cohen's over there and he can't save you, then you're just not, you are not what you were drafted to be. And I think ever since that comment, you look what Jacksonville has done and you look what Tampa has done. So, yeah, I'm going to say absolutely. I think that is a huge part of it. And again, the defense hasn't been great either, so you can't blame it all on the offense. But this is a Tampa team, I think, despite maybe the Brady years when, they won the Super Bowl, defensively, they've never been a really great team. It's always kind of been middle of the pack. It's just the offense has been so good. But now the offense is not good. Liam Cohen is gone. That's a huge part of it. So, if you're a Bucs fan, I think I'm right there with you. You're probably looking at Jacksonville, who potentially still has an opportunity at the 1 seed in the AFC if things go their way. But you're looking at Jacksonville, how their season's shaping out. You're looking at your own team and you're losing sleep, and you're just like, if we would have promoted Liam Cohen, kept him at home, what could have been? So I think that's definitely something that kind of should bother fans at night. But we can't also, then again, I know I kind of just bashed him and said that he might be gone after the year, but we also can't sit here and act like Todd Bowles have not done enough to keep them competitive throughout the year. So it's not like this is a guy that they can't win games and, they're 6-11, whatever the case is. They're winning games. They're making the playoffs. They're winning divisions. So Todd Bowles deserves some credit, but I also still think Liam Cohen not being there also has kind of exposed Bowles and just the team as a whole.
Yeah, and look, Bowles does deserve a lot of credit for the way things have gone the last couple of years. You're spot on with that in terms of in Tampa. This was a team that back in 2023, when after Brady retired and it was the year after, all of that, and they brought in Baker Mayfield, who at the time looked like kind of just a one-year stopgap for them to eventually draft a quarterback in 2024. And right, because 2023, they were projected by everybody really to be the worst team in the NFL. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the Baker Mayfield resurgence, and also Bulls brought in Liam Cohen in 2024 too. So you have to give him credit for that as well, making that, it was only a one-year thing, but it worked out for the 1 year in terms of what they were able to do offensively. Baker Mayfield, we talked about it a lot last year, probably should have gotten more MVP consideration than he actually did. But yeah, Bulls deserves a ton of credit. This was a team that was written off as a team that was done. Bulls was going to be canned. Baker was going to just be, a 1 year thing because this was before the Baker Mayfield resurgence, and they were going to draft a quarterback and start all over again. And now here we are 3 years later. They've got 2 playoff appearances under their belt. And as bad as things have been this year, and really the only reason they're still in the mix is because the NFC South is atrocious, but you don't apologize for that. As bad as things have been, it's all right there in front of them to go out there, win these final 3 games, and get into the playoffs. And look, you get to the playoffs, you never know. Maybe this is their year in terms of making a little bit of a run where they have some adversity throughout the season and then they go on a kind of an unexpected run. They're more talented. They should beat Carolina. They should beat Miami in next week as well. So we'll see what happens with Tampa. It's a big stretch for sure. And big stretch for a lot of jobs as well on the line. Because it's hard to all of the things Bulls has done. It's hard to bring him back if you go from 6-2 to missing the playoffs, especially if you lose these final 3 games. Forget about just losing the games to Carolina. You go and lose to Miami next week, and Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson or whoever the heck's going to be under center by next week. That's bad too. So, but a big game today. I just wonder when the day will come here where now, look, last year the Bucks did win 10 games. The year before that, they've won the division the last 4 years. A lot of that's thanks to Brady, but they won 24, 23, 22, 21. I just wonder the next time that we're going to see an NFC South division winner that's going to be like a legitimate threat, because I believe, I'm going back, I think the highest seed was, you have to go back to 2020 when the Saints were the 2 seed and they ended up losing to the Bucks that year. That was the Brady Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But since that point, now the Bucks were the 2 seed in 2021. Since that point, though, the last 3 years, they've all been 4 seeds, including 8 and 9 with Brady. They got in under 500, which is still crazy.
I don't think we're ever going to see it. You just look at the entire NFC. It's not going to happen. If every year you're going to be dealing with Seattle and just look at the West, the North is here to stay for a while.
Yep.
The East is not going to be this bad for, moving forward. I think 4 seed is a nice, comfortable spot for them, and 4 seed, home game, wild card, lose, wash and repeat. I think that's the South for you. Same way the AFC North is all about the same.
Yes. It is it's something else. It's just going to be very hard. It'd be really, really crazy to see a 13-4 Rams team go on the road. And you know what this is going to do? And then we'll move on here. This is going to spark the discussion again of all of these playoff, realign the bracket of, the Rams shouldn't have to go on the road. And, remember we were talking about that, I think, with was it the Lions, I believe?
Last year with was it the Vikings that ended up getting the 5?
Yes,
was it the
because it was because the Vikings lost to the Lions. That's where the Lions connection came in. And then
But
Dan Campbell said to Kevin O'Connell, "I'll see you in the next round." Was that it, right?
yep.
Or whenever?
But I mean, I hate to say it. I like traditional, win the division. I mean, win your divisional games when you're supposed to win them, and you won't play on the road. It's just that simple. We're gonna keep it that way.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, moving on now to a team that's got no playoff hopes at all. At least Tampa's still got some playoff hopes alive here. One team that doesn't have any hopes alive is the Miami Dolphins, who dropped to 6-8 on the season with another bad loss in the cold. What else is new? 28-15 lifeless performance to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They started to play better. They won 4 games in a row. Great. You beat the Commanders. You beat the Saints. You beat the Jets. They did beat the Bills in there, which is an impressive win. No doubt about it. That was kind of their highlight of the year, I guess. But now they're 6-8. They're eliminated from the playoffs. Final 3 games here. Cincy today, Tampa next week, as we spoke about a little bit there when considering Tampa's path to the playoffs. And in New England, they're done. They already fired the GM. Now they benched the quarterback. Quinn Ewers will play. Shout out Zach Wilson. He will still be the backup. They're a train wreck. They are a complete mess. This contract with Tua is a disaster. I guess I'll ask you this, and I probably know the answer. Right decision to bench Tua? And your just thoughts on the move before we get to the repercussions and the long-term mess that is the Miami Dolphins right now, because they're paying this quarterback a ton of money. Tyreek Hill is going to get a ton of money. They probably move on from him too, because I do have some numbers on the cap there, how they can clear some space. But just instant reaction to the Tua benching and really what has been the Tua tenure, because now I think we can officially say it's over in Miami. The Tua tenure in Miami, I don't like. How is it even remembered? It's going to kind of be remembered as, I don't know, good stretches, maybe like a couple good stretches, and that was it. Known for blowing late season division leads. You know, it's not winning in the cold.
They scored 70.
Yes, that's the highlight. Yes, they did score 70. It's been all downhill since.
I don't know what to this. I don't know. Tua's time in Miami was just so odd. I mean, I think first and foremost, I think it was the right decision. I mean, you're out of the playoff mix, and if your plans were to move on from Tua, you kind of do it now. You see what you get from Quinn and Ewers for the next few games. See what you potentially got. Can you move forward with them? Should you draft a quarterback? So I see nothing wrong with that. Or do you take the Atlanta approach, which I feel like is rare? Like, we haven't really seen it too often, where you keep Tua next year and he's your backup, like they're doing with Kirk Cousins now, Michael Penix, of course. But I don't think at his time as a starter, it can't be anymore. It's been bad, and I'm looking at the numbers of it, and he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great at the same time. I mean, 46-32 record, but he's been injured a lot. He's always injured. Yep. A lot of, when it comes to concussions, can't stay healthy. So that's the problem. Okay, he's won 46 games. He has 1 playoff appearance. Even though one of those years they made the playoffs, he was hurt. I believe that was 22, 23.
Yes,
he was
Skylar
out
Thompson.
With concussion. Yeah. So you look at that one, you're like, okay, well, if you want to count 2 because he led up majority of the lead up with him winning games and getting them there, whatever. But truthfully, 1 playoff appearance in which they lost. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been bad. And you kind of also look at him too. You look at this Dolphins team, who's been just historically bad, if you ask me. Before Tua was drafted, the Dolphins had 2 winning seasons. That was 2008. That was 2016. They've had 4 with him there. So you look at it that way and just like, he stepped in the building. He's winning games. He's getting the job done as in terms of winning. Even though 2 of those seasons were 9-8, so you're kind of like, all right, you're borderline. That 17th game kind of went your way. So it's not like he's completely flipped the script as well. But I think you hit it perfectly. You look at Tua and you're just like, okay, great. With those 46 wins, with that 1 playoff appearance, with those 4 winning seasons, how many divisions have you won? And you keep saying this, and I'm going to repeat it too. The main way to get in the playoffs is to win your division. The Dolphins cannot do that. So no matter how many games he's winning, no matter how many touchdowns he's thrown, if they can't win a division, if they can't get over Buffalo, and now you got New England back into the mix, if they can't do that and you can't do that, you are not the guy for the job. And I hate to say it. I mean, personally, I like Tua, even though I think it's best for Miami to move on. He's not the guy for the job anymore.
I agree. I'm right there with you. He's time's run out. It's gotten very, let's be honest, the whole Miami organization right now has gotten kind of very stale with this core, this group of players, this coach. They already fired the GM and Chris Greer. I don't know what ownership and is doing. Like, I don't know how Stephen Ross can continue to look at this Dolphins team and not like just keep the coach. Like, are they going to keep the coach, or like, are they going to keep McDaniel? I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I would have canned both of them. If you're going to fire Chris Greer, just fire McDaniel at the same time. Just move on from both of them, blow the whole thing up in the middle of the season. Then at that point, you probably should have just played Ewers. You should have said, okay, 2 of your bench. Let's just play Quinn Ewers and see what happens. Best case scenario, he shows you something. Worst case scenario, he stinks, which most likely is going to be the case. And you get a better draft pick, because let's be honest, the last 4 wins or 4 straight wins, it's just been hurting their draft pick, to be honest. They probably were better off finishing 3-14, 4-13 than where they are now, which I believe is 11th overall according to Tankathon. So outside the top 10. But you're spot on with it. I mean, they had a couple winning seasons. They couldn't win the division. That's ultimately what it came down to. They were always blowing, specifically in 2023, they were blowing the late division leads. And to me, 2023 was kind of the breaking point. You cannot blow the division like that. Them blowing the division that year, getting that Sunday night game the last week of the season against the final game of the year, game 272, against the Bills, an opportunity at home to win the division, take care of business, and you lose that game. Since that point, they haven't been right. It's been all downhill. They ended up losing that wild card game to the Chiefs in the cold, and you followed up the next year with an 8-9 record. And in this season, they probably finished 6-11. I don't think they'll probably win another game. Who knows? Maybe Quinn Ewers has some success against Cincinnati's defense, because you and I could probably have success against that secondary. But in all seriousness, it's been all downhill since. And you've seen the roster. They've gotten worse and worse each year, right? The defense has gotten worse. They're very inexperienced. They lost a ton of pieces. They just got rid of Judon now as well, which is kind of like a corresponding move to the Tua thing, where they're really starting to blow it up a little bit. Without Tyreek Hill on the offense, it's tough to win. Even with Tyreek Hill, this was a team that needed a team meeting. They had a team meeting. What was it? Week 1, week 2? Yeah. I mean, team meeting already. Like, this was probably, in all of my years watching the NFL, maybe one of the most predictable seasons and most, I guess, just disastrous, like, early season team meetings. It was a train wreck. They start the year getting blown out against the Colts. They started 1-6. They were a mess. Their talent on the roster is in a rough spot, specifically on defense. And you look at the salary cap, whoever takes this job over is going to be dealing with a train wreck. I know I've said that a ton, but he is. They're going to be $11 million over the cap. You've got this Tua contract now that's on the books. It's ugly, and I don't know what they'll do with the coach, but 4-year, $212.4 million contract extension in 2024. 4 years, $167.17 million guaranteed, and he's benched. And the first out, I believe, is 2027, and now he's benched. Plus all the other cap ramifications you've got. Now, Tyreek Hill, I think, is probably would you agree that Tyreek Hill is probably gone too?
Absolutely.
Because when you look at Tyreek Hill and Adam Schefter, now they are expected, Adam Schefter has reported that Miami is expected to move on from Tua and things like that. But Tyreek Hill, they could save a little bit of money here. Now, if they designate him as a post-June 1 release, they would save $36 million in 2026. If they designate him If they release him before June 1, it would be about $23.65 million against their cap they would save. So they could save some money there, which would kind of help soften the blow a little bit of the Tua contract. But I mean, look, Miami's just a bad run organization. They handed out these contracts. They should have never handed out the Tua contract. They did. Based off of what? Like, why did they? What was that? They panicked?
They panicked. I think they wanted to get a deal done. You know, sorry to cut you off there, but you kind of see it through. We saw it with Trevor Lawrence, even though now it's kind of working out. But we saw it with Trevor Lawrence, and we have seen it with a few other guys where guys, you know, going into the offseason, you know, hey, money's going to start rolling in for these quarterbacks, and I'm just going to throw out a name here. If I'm Miami, I'm just like, hey, I'm not paying him more than Brock Purdy. Let me go ahead and give him his contract. So when Purdy's contract comes out, we don't have to try to top those numbers. So I honestly think it was a panic move.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. It's the year after they blow the division, and down the stretch, they were awful.
Funny story. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, Tua himself, you're spot on with the panic stuff. Tua himself down the stretch was not good. They had that terrible loss against Baltimore. Remember, there was a 56-19. And he had 2 interceptions in that game. Then he followed it up with another 2 interceptions against Buffalo. They lost at home. And then you turn around that summer and give him that extension. When the rest of the roster began to get worse, they began to move on from some other pieces. Himself last year ended up getting hurt again and didn't play the full season. And now this year it's 15 interceptions. His QBR's in the toilet. I mean, it's.
Can you do me one favor? Can you look at the 2023 year and tell me who their last win was in 2023 before it completely
the Cowboys?
Exactly. So funny story here. So I actually go to that game down in Miami on Christmas Eve. Of course, I think it was Jason Sanders, game-winning field goal. Dolphins fans running around the concourse, running around the stadium. Miami has it off. Miami has it off. The greatest football team. The song is going off. Everyone's losing their minds. Oh my goodness, we're so back. We're going to the playoffs. We're going to the Super Bowl. We finally figured it out. And you know, me being an angry Cowboys fan, I'm kind of on one of the charter buses. We're getting chartered back to where we parked, and all these Dolphins fans are talking crazy. I remember talking to this one guy. He's like, hey, go take that jersey off. I have on a throwback Zeke jersey. No, actually a lot. My bad. It was a Color Rush CeeDee Lamb jersey. So I'm wearing it, this guy's like, hey, take that jersey off. Like, you guys suck, whatever, whatever. And I look at this guy, and I'm just like, you probably won't win another game for the rest of this year. And look how that went. So I just find that a funny story because, one, it's just like, it's always been who Miami has been, where it's just like you can't get the job done. You celebrate your highs. Your highs are so high. You find your high. You sign Tua to this long contract. Like, we got our quarterback. Oh, my goodness. We finally figured it out. We're finally going to win the division. And then now you fast forward 2 years later and your quarterback is about to be gone. Your head coach is going to be gone. Your GM is going to be gone. And you in a complete rebuild mode. So I bring that story up just to say life comes at you fast. And if you were to tell a Dolphins fan in 2023 walking out that stadium that Tua, McDaniel, and Tyreek Hill will probably all be gone in the next 2 years, you probably would have thought the person that told you that was psychotic. And now look at it. Go Dolphins.
Yes.
Go Dolphins. That's all I got to say about that.
It's a good story, and it actually ties in perfectly to the whole thing that everybody talks about in the NFL. It's life comes at you fast. You're 100% right. They beat Dallas. That was like a big kind of signature win in the moment. And you get to 11-4. All they had to do was win one more game, and they win the division. And you follow that up with a 56-point shelling against the Baltimore Ravens. And then you no-showed at home the week later against Buffalo, where your star quarterback that you ended up extending, 6 months later in the summer, threw 2 picks in that game, and they only scored 14 points.
And Buffalo looked awful that year. I think it took
that was the year they
wins or something.
Yeah, they were 5 and I believe they were 5-6 or 6-6, I think, and they ended up finishing 11-6. but they had those like consecutive wins because then they actually also beat, not to just bring Dallas and some of the pain here, although you're right, but they did beat Dallas too.
Yep.
At home. Now if it makes you feel better, Dallas did, beat up on the Jets. So they found some success against the AFCs. That was the post Aaron Rodgers injury game.
Yeah.
The touchdown to Garrett Wilson. I thought that, okay, maybe Zach Wilson could be manageable. And then they ended up losing, what was it, like 30-7 that game, I think?
I actually was at that game. So I remember having Garrett Wilson on my fantasy team. It was a good bag because, like, oh, great, our defense stinks. Here we go. I think that was Garrett Wilson's only catch, too, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it was like the only productive play on offense all day.
So I guess at least
Zach, I believe, threw like 3 picks that day. He was awful at that point.
He did not look good.
When else was he good? Never good. So not a surprise. But that's the point, though, is Buffalo that year was bad because they fired Ken Dorsey that season.
Yep.
And then they promoted Joe Brady. They fired the OC. That was kind of the first time. And you remember the Diggs drama? That was like when the Diggs drama was at its height. You started to get some rumors. I even remember, and this is crazy, how kind of that year just went. 2023 in general was wild because you had all the backup quarterbacks, right? You had the final game of the season between Minshew and C.J. Stroud, I believe it was, with the Colts and the Texans.
The Colts, yeah.
Or not the final game of the season, but it was...
Winner got into the playoffs.
Yes, winner got in. You had the drop on 4th and 1. And you had all the Josh Dobbs, like 2 to 3 week stretch. It was a wild year. And it was like, for the Jets' perspective, it was the worst year to have a quarterback get hurt because you looked around the league and you saw these other teams winning with competent backups. Because, you had the Colts win some games. You had the, look, as bad as Josh Dobbs kind of turned out to be, it was only it was like a insanity run. They won a couple games. He was electric for the 2 weeks that he was there. The Jets could have had him. Instead, they stuck with Zach. They brought in Trevor Siemian. They started Tim Boyle. It was ridiculous. But yeah, the Bills were 6-6 and they won 5 in a row to end that year. They beat Kansas City, Dallas, the Chargers, New England, Miami. And they beat Kansas City on the road, and the Chargers were on the road as well. But yeah, that was the year. And I go back to week 1. Remember Josh Allen, the week 1, the Rodgers Achilles game. He threw 3 picks that game.
The Xavier Gibson punt return. I remember that.
Yes, the Xavier Gibson punt return. Allen had 3 picks. He also fumbled. He turned the ball over 4 times. Jordan Whitehead had all 3 of those interceptions. And, the Jets go on and win that game, as we all know. I was there for that. I've gone through that story before. But after that game, there was like reports in the coming days after that about Diggs and Allen got into it in the locker room after that because the 3 interceptions and things like that. And the rest of the year, they were off. That relationship was off. And sure enough, after the 2023 season, they ended up moving on. And obviously, Diggs goes to Houston last year. Now he's in New England, as we all know. And the Bills are kind of scotch taping this receiver room together, which I guess it's kind of working. Whatever, they're going to make the playoffs, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that year, you had the Diggs drama. If that looked like, okay, this might be the end of this kind of Josh Allen, not that run, but that kind of version of the Bills with Stephon Diggs. And sure enough, it was. But they ended up winning 5 in a row. They made the coordinator change, and then they won 5 in a row. And that was that crazy Eagles season too, because going back to the Bucs, that's when the Eagles collapsed.
Yeah, because the Jets beat the Eagles that year off of Jalen Hurts pick 6. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Tony Adams.
That might
who,
have been
by the way, now is unplayable.
Year.
Terrible. But we'll always have that moment. But yeah, they start the year 10-1, and then they lost 5 of their last 6, including the Giants the last week of the season. And then they had Matt Patricia as the OC. Unbelievable. Crazy year. Crazy season 2023 was.
That actually might have been the same year the Dolphins scored 70. If I'm correct, I think that was 2023.
Yes, they put up 70 because that was the first. Now, this is also crazy. That was the year where that was Sean Payton's first season. And you remember they went on the road and actually beat Buffalo, Denver. They started to piece it together a little bit. They were 6-5 at one point, and then they benched Russ. You remember they benched Russ late in the year, and it was like very controversial because it was like whatever in the contract. They didn't want him to get hurt, whatever it was. But they ended up benching him. They were like 7-6. They were actually winning some games. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Packers. They beat the Bills on the road. They had a couple really big wins, and Russ was actually playing decent. And then late in the season, they collapsed. Like they got smoked against Detroit. Russ got benched, and then they ended up missing the playoffs. And sure enough, Bo Nix, and now we know where they are now. But yeah, that Denver season was very strange because they started 1-5 and they finished 8-9. So after that 1-5 start, they went 7-3 the rest of the way. It wasn't, or 7-4. It wasn't enough. But yeah, that was wild year, very wild year for sure. But what made it normal was the Miami Dolphins did not win a playoff game. And the fact of the matter is they have not won a playoff game since 2000. That is no other way you put it. That's embarrassing, no matter how you slice it. It's a long drought. And, you look at this last stretch with McDaniel and Tua, it's failed. It's over. You've got to move on from McDaniel. And whatever next GM comes in here has got a complete mess from salary caps situation to just the players on this roster right now. They're a mess. And the whole Tua thing is blown up. Where Tua can go, I mean, it's probably about the same teams that we threw out there for the Kyler Murray stuff.
Yeah.
It's like those teams.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with Tua. And I really don't want it. Is this crazy? Because I thought about this morning. And believe me, I want a rookie quarterback. I want the Jets to draft a rookie. I want no part of these two players. But if I had the choice, I'm taking Kyler Murray over Tua.
100%. 100%.
I know. I feel like there would be. Would you think there's a lot of people that would take Tua? Because technically Tua has been better, but in the both contracts are not any good.
I think this is that time where the eye test actually. You don't look at the box score.
Yeah.
You don't look at the stats. This is pure off of ball knowledge and eye test. You got to take Kyler Murray 10 out of 10 times.
Yes. There's a lot of Dolphins fans that lack ball knowledge.
Yeah. Clearly.
It's funny. You see the Schefter report? They offered 4 first-round picks for the Bengals for Burrow. How different would the NFL be if the Dolphins got Burrow and the Bengals, let's say, end up with Tua? I mean, man, that would be different. They definitely win the division in 2023 with Burrow. I don't know. I don't know how far they would have went because I can't sit here and say that, oh, well, Burrow is in the NFC. If he was in the AFC, he would have won. Like those years, he still would have had to get through Kansas City, which he didn't. They may have gone to this. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky because I mean, you're like, okay, well, he has Tyreek and he has Waddle, but you're like, okay, well, he has T. Higgins and he has Jamar Chase. That's tough. They do win the division, though. I think they probably win 2 division titles.
They definitely probably have 2 division titles. And they definitely win a playoff game. Assuming he's healthy, they probably beat Buffalo in 2022 because they only lost by 3 that game with Skylar Thompson.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because then Burrow ended up beating the Bills the week later. So Burrow probably beats Buffalo in 2022. And then it's funny. We probably would have gotten, or no, because the seeding would have been different. I was going to say you would have gotten Burrow and Tua, Dolphins, Bengals, but that probably would have been different because the seeding. Either way, they would have had at least 2 playoff wins.
Yeah.
I think with Burrow, they probably beat Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Burrow has gone into Kansas City and beat them before, and he almost beat them 2 years ago. In that game as well, where I think was that the year Kansas City beat the Eagles? Yeah, that was 22, right?
Yeah.
I think that was like the first of the three-peat or the back-to-back failed three-peat, whatever. But yeah, that would be, that I always enjoy doing that. The what ifs, throw a trades that could have happened or didn't happen, whatever, or trades that did happen that if they didn't happen, what would happen? Bengals, I think, would be in a lot different spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bengals would be a train wreck because the defense stinks and Tua's not good enough to overcome that defense. I mean, Burrow is barely good enough to overcome the defense, but with Tua, they'd probably be like a 5-win team with that defense.
Probably less.
Yeah.
Probably. I think maybe 3 to 4.
They might be like a 3 or 4-win team.
Yeah.
He's not good enough to – Tua's not good enough to go into a 40-point shootout week in and week out.
Yeah.
No chance. So, anyway, moving on from Tua and quarterbacks that are actually, I guess, the proper age, if you want to call it, to be still playing in the NFL, we now move on to Phillip Rivers, Grandpa Phil, whatever you want to call him, 44 years old. I would say still got it, but after watching him last week, I don't know if I could say that. My favorite Phillip Rivers clip, and look, I had 2 screens going. I had Broncos-Packers on and then the Colts game on. I'd be lying to you. Now, Broncos-Packers was obviously the better game in terms of just the matchup. But I was locked in on Colts-Seahawks. I was locked in on the Phillip Rivers return. And my favorite Phillip Rivers clip was when he slipped in the pocket, fell down, got back up, took about 2 steps forward and said, yeah, I'm not taking a hit. And he just fell back down. That was the favorite clip of the day. The arm looked cooked. Not that he ever had a great arm, but it looked cooked. The spirals were ducks. They almost won. That's the crazy part. Your thoughts on the Phillip Rivers return and just this whole situation with the Colts. And by the way, the Colts, I think we can actually put out there now as responsible for probably the 2 maybe craziest moves in an NFL season. Phillip Rivers this year and then a couple years ago when they brought Jeff Saturday off of ESPN and said, here, coach for us. Just crazy. What are your thoughts on the Rivers stuff?
I don't have much to say. Like I said off air, I'm gonna repeat it. This was Unc at the Turkey Bowl, 6 beers deep, going out there throwing the ball to the nephew to say, hey, back in my day, I had it. He doesn't have it no more. Like you said, perfectly, the mechanics are horrible. His arm looked horrible. Just the drop back, everything about Phillip Rivers just looked horrible. He did not belong to be out there. And then, hey, we need you to come back, and your first 2 games is going to be Seattle and it's going to be San Francisco. Good luck. I don't know. I feel so bad for the coaches, everything they went through this season, how they started off so hot, how things have ended. Now you got to watch Phillip Rivers drop back and throw for 120 yards. Oh, that game was so awful. But, hey, he kept him in it. As bad as he looked, he's kept him in it. But if I'm the coach, I think you release him. You throw whoever it is you can throw out there. If Anthony Richardson's still on IR, they have no shot. It's cooked. Playoff chances are cooked. Season's cooked. But you can't roll Rivers back out there.
Cooked.
You cannot roll him back out there. I think you just shut it down for the year and you look forward to the draft and look forward to getting Daniel Jones back, hopefully at the start of the season next year.
Yes. There's and I said this when now Richardson's still on IR. I said this when Daniel Jones got hurt, that out of the options of Riley Leonard and they also got Brett Rippon, I think, too, as technically like the QB3. Out of those options, I'd still throw Richardson out there just because he could run around a bit. At least he's got some mobility. At least, you can, I don't know, move a little bit. That's sometimes with a backup quarterback, if you can run around a little bit, that's a good thing. Try and, you're not going to always beat a team through the air. So backup quarterbacks are not going to usually beat a team through the air. So if you have an ability to run a bit and kind of keep things going from that standpoint, do a little bit of damage, keep the defense guessing in that area, it helps a little bit. That's why a guy I've always said, like, Tyrod's been around for so long, is he might not be the most talented thrower, but as a QB2, he can move a little bit, and that's sometimes a good thing. Rivers, to say he can move an inch is, I think that's too much of a compliment. He can't move. You see that's like photo of him walking onto the field. It's just he's probably put on about 15 pounds, maybe more than that. I don't know. I mean, he was on the couch last week or 2 weeks ago now, and then he gets the call, and now he's here. It's a cool story. And from a Jet fan perspective, I need the Colts to lose because better draft pick, and I think they will lose out. I mean, their schedule is not get any easier. They got San Fran on the road. That is a very difficult task. Or actually, they're at home. But San Fran, that defense at home on primetime, then Jacksonville, then Houston. There's a good chance they're finishing 8-9. Now, it would be an awesome story. It'd be a crazy story if Rivers got them to the playoffs. But here's what I like watching that game. This was my main takeaway. Not even that Rivers wasn't any good. Just the style of offense that they were running. I mean, Rivers, he can't throw the ball more than 15 yards now?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of it. That style of offense, as a Jet fan, I've seen that before. That's not sustainable. Even if they would have beat the Saints, scoring 16 points or 20 points the rest of the season is not sustainable. That's my biggest takeaway from the performance. The way they were running that offense, it's not going to last. It didn't even get them the win, but it's definitely not going to last against San Fran and that defense, Jacksonville, and Houston. This feels like an 8-9 team. I don't know if they'll bench Rivers after this week. Like, if he stinks again, I think they might just ride it out with him. But I mean, that'd be gosh.
Yeah.
Rivers comes out of retirement to play 2 games, then get benched. I mean, what did we really expect? If this was, and that's what stinks about the timing of this injury, is if this injury happened before the trade deadline, you probably, I think they probably trade for Flacco.
Yeah.
Potentially. When they had him last year, but I'm looking now. Who else even is like free agent quarterbacks that are out there? Now, they're probably awful, but like, is there any guy out there that's like, I mean, Hendon Hooker was available. The Jets actually signed him to the practice squad. Not that Hendon Hooker's any good, but like, I don't know. Pick up any guy off the side of the street other than Rivers. It's rough.
Let's see.
It's like best quarterback. It's like Heineke. Is Taylor Heineke still a free agent?
Some of these names, oh my goodness.
Taylor Heineke's a free agent. Interesting. Kind of surprised by that.
Let's see.
I thought he'd be on like some team somewhere. Guess not. Let's see. Yeah, it's like CJ Beathard, Jeff Driscoll, Tim Boyle's probably available. Maybe, I don't know. Either way,
Bryce Perkins. Not a good list to go off of. It's really not a lot of nothing that screams out certainty. No.
I would have maybe taken a flyer on DTR. Maybe not. I don't know. He's not very good. But yeah, there really was nobody. If this was pre-deadline, totally different story. But now that's not the case. So anyway, Phillip Rivers tomorrow night against the Niners. It's mobility's not there, arm's not there. Not that he was very mobile anyway. Which, I'll be honest, I have liked his press conferences. He's been very kind of honest about the whole situation, just kind of enjoying it, not getting too serious about it. He talked about like, oh, do you think you can move away from pressure? And he's like, not that I was ever really able to move away from pressure, which, is a good way to look at it, I guess. Anyway, a couple more topics here. Close things out. Couple injuries, big injuries. Mahomes done for the year, ACL. Parsons done for the year, Achilles. And Devontae Adams missed Thursday's game, likely to miss week 17 as well. Now, they lose Thursday's game, but it wasn't for a lack of offense. A shootout that they lose in. Great throw late by Sam Darnold on that, the two-pointer, which was, there's an alternate universe where Sam Darnold is a Jet and JSN's a Jet, and I'm enjoying a big season like this. Instead, we've got a $20 million quarterback. We've got a quarterback that we're paying $20 million as our QB3 today in Justin Fields. So that's great. But your thoughts on those three injuries, Parsons and look, the Devontae hamstring injury, we'll see how that impacts them even going into Atlanta. But the Parsons and Mahomes injuries are huge because those guys are done. Chiefs are done. They're out of the playoffs, but Parsons done, won't even be in the playoffs. You lose yesterday's Chicago. Your thoughts on where things stand with those guys?
Briefly on Adams, I mean, like I said, no lack of offense whatsoever. And, just me as a guy with Devontae Adams on his fantasy team in the semifinals, facing somebody who has Puka. Well, I faced Puka in 2 semifinals games. So, love that. But I think Adams is coming back. You're kind of at the point for the Rams where you're just like seeding-wise, of course you want the 1 seed. But, hey, give me the 5 seed. I'll go on the road and get Tampa or Carolina. So I'm not too much concerned for Adams. He will be back, and when he is back, great. But they still have Puka who's going to get 85 targets a game. Can't tell I have beef with Puka moving forward. For the other two, though, this is going to sound crazy. I honestly think the Mahomes injury is a blessing in disguise. I just don't think that roster is good enough. If they try to run it back next year, and we talked about this last week, I don't think this roster is good enough to do anything moving forward. I know you still have Mahomes. It's hard to count Mahomes out, but this is not a very good football team. And I know weeks ago I said this is a good football team, like on paper. I kind of lied. You kind of look at this roster and you're just like, this is not a good team. And you're starting to see that now because you're looking at the division and the West and how good the AFC West has been. They're not a good enough roster to be competitive in their division, let alone inside the AFC in general. So looking at it, I mean, Mahomes is going to miss some time. Who knows when he'll come back. But next year you have potentially no Kelsey, no Pacheco, no Kareem Hunt, no Jalen Watson. Just throw a few names out there. It is time to rebuild. So I think this injury to Mahomes gives you the opportunity to rebuild, actually do something in the draft, build your roster up, make some moves, make some trades. I see Kyle Pitts is a big name the Chiefs could look to acquire. So Chiefs fans, I know it sucks. You're so used to winning, but I honestly think this was a good thing to come for the next few years because trying to run it back next year with them Mahomes, yeah, it's not a good idea whatsoever. And briefly on Parsons, I mean, we saw it yesterday, but then again, we didn't see it. I don't think his injury – Chicago offensively just didn't look good. Yesterday, it didn't show how big of an impact his injury is, but I think moving forward, come playoff time, we will see it. I mean, 12 and a half sacks. I think he's tied third with Nick Bonito in the league. And this was obviously notes I wrote before yesterday as well. But going into yesterday, the second highest, sack guy on the team was Rashawn Gary, I believe, with 7.5. So I don't know if that would have changed last night if he got more, but obviously Parsons' impact on the field, let alone from the sacks, is just his presence, I guess, his aura on the field in general, with just being on one side of the field, is a huge thing. And now they lose that. So we've kind of talked about it before where we don't think this offense is good enough, and it was kind of fueled off the defense to create turnovers, to get them in good field position, to limit teams to scoring. And now without Parsons, I don't think that defense is good enough to do that. Still a very good unit, but he makes a huge difference. So I think, honestly, if Green Bay had any Super Bowl hopes, no Parsons, those hopes are down the drain.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you talk about the two positions that most impact the team, it feels like, from an injury or can just dominate a game. It's edge rusher and quarterback. Those sometimes are the two you feel the most. And from the Parsons perspective, that's something that I think, down the line they'll start to feel.
Yeah.
It's just a tough injury from you make the trade in the offseason. You have all these Super Bowl hopes. He's had a really big season, and now he goes down. You have Jordan Love, who's now hurt with the concussion. They've kind of had some bumps in the road already. This has been just kind of a little bit of a rocky season for the Packers overall. Like it hasn't been all smooth sailing. I think a lot of people out there saw them going, 13-4 and running away with the NFC North. And they've got Parsons, they've got, Jordan Love. And now you kind of look at it, they've lost back-to-back games. They, just lost the divisional game, although they did beat, Chicago 2 weeks ago at home. Now they're the 7th seed, so they don't have necessarily, they're not in just yet. We'll see what happens with Detroit. I believe they split, or no, they actually swept Detroit. So they'd have to lose out, I believe, in order for Detroit to get in. And I think same thing with Chicago. Detroit still has to play Chicago. So a lot that still needs to happen. But from the Chiefs standpoint, or from the Rams, I was lucky enough to have Puka in both leagues. I also had Stafford in both my leagues. So I am just riding high right now, which is a rarity. I'm on my way to the championship in one of my leagues. In both my leagues, I should be. So that's huge. Puka and Stafford, they've just been phenomenal. And the crazy part is Stafford, I picked up off of waivers in both leagues. And one of the leagues I had Penix, and I dropped Penix for Matthew Stafford. Like if I don't make that move, I'm probably a 5-win team maybe right now. Instead of I went 10-4, I'm probably 4-10. There's a really good chance because I won 7 in a row after picking up Stafford. So riding high there. Tough to lose Devontae Adams at any point. This is a guy that is just a monster when it comes to touchdowns and scoring touchdowns. And Kyron Williams, fantasy owners have kind of suffered a little bit from. He still has some touchdowns, but there's been a lot of touchdowns stolen from Kyron Williams this year by all these receivers. Recently, Colby Parkinson too. And
I'm so sorry about that.
I ended up actually sticking with Gadsden.
All right.
So that was good. But go figure, though, the time I pick up Colby Parkinson, he does nothing. But he's had some touchdowns. He's kind of on a stretch of touchdowns prior to Thursday night. Devontae obviously has had a big year. So tough blow, but he'll be back. And, at the end of the day, I still think this is a Rams team that can do a ton of damage in the offense. Puka had a huge game. In terms of the Chiefs, that's the real interesting one with Mahomes going down. It kind of aligns right with the Brady injury. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory.
Yes, it's still very weird that the Chiefs are not going to be in the playoffs. It still doesn't feel real because they've been in the playoffs. I forget what it was. It was 9 years now. Because even going back pre-Mahomes, they had those years with Alex Smith. Last time they missed the playoffs, even more than that, was 2014, which is crazy. Wow. So forget about just the Mahomes era where they've been in the playoffs and have been to the Super Bowl and won Super Bowls and all that stuff. This is a team that playoffs just in general haven't missed since 2014. So it's been a long time since we haven't seen the Chiefs in the playoffs. And that will be the case this year. They've got a lot of decisions to make. They've got a lot of moves they need to make. They need to really upgrade this team. And I think you kind of saw this coming last year, right? They won a ton of those one-score games last year. You're not going to do that again. This year, they've lost a lot of close games. That's what happens. They just don't have enough talent right now. And they were making there was a lot of mistakes they were making too. Mistakes and penalties that they were making that you just didn't see an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs team make over the last couple of years. Very out of character for them. So I don't know what's going to happen with Kelsey. Is he going to retire or not? I don't know.
Washed.
You think he is?
He's washed. He's my fantasy tight end, so I've watched a lot of Travis Kelsey. He's washed. It's like you see bursts. You see these games, the drops.
Yeah, the drop against the Chargers was awful. Not that would have mattered because they were going to miss the playoffs anyway, and Mahomes got hurt. But that drop was brutal. Then he had the drop against Houston, too. So it's a mess. But back to what you were saying.
He can't move up the field. Like those days are just long gone where he can turn up the field and still be elusive. Like you see bursts of it, you see it every once in a while, but Travis Kelsey is not the same. So if I'm the Chiefs, I mean, I just mentioned it. I try to go after Kyle Pitts and
Yeah.
try to bring in someone with a similar skill set. And Pitts is starting to come along because, of course, I also played him in fantasy this week. Love that with his 45-point performance, or was that last week? I was. Also had to deal with that. So, but Pitts is coming to his own. I think Kelsey's time is done, and I just think this whole Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco era, whatever you want to call it, chapter is closed. Bringing some new players, some new faces, and try to get back to where you once were.
Yes, and they are in a tough spot with some of the salary cap stuff, but they could always work around that, and we'll see kind of when Mahomes returns. But yeah, we talk about this a lot with athletes, and then we'll move on to our underdog picks. But there's different kind of falls from grace, I guess, or falls from primes, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's guys that have a slow decline, and then guys that just flat out they just lose it. In all sports, Kelsey falls under the category of just losing it. He's just got washed quick because you go back to that 2023 season. Now, he didn't have 1,000 yards, which broke that. I believe it was a 7-season consecutive streak of 1,000 yards, but he only played 15 games. He had 984 yards. If he would have played 2 more games, he would have had over 1,000 by a wide margin. So he had a very good year. He also would have had over 100 receptions that year. 2023 was very good. But then you go to last year, he just completely fell off. The touchdowns dropped, the yards dropped, all of that stuff. He was awful. You mentioned it. It's not even just the numbers with Kelsey, because the numbers, to be honest, amongst like all tight ends still aren't terrible. I mean, even in the NFL, he's still top 25 in receiving, top 20 in receptions. It's not really the numbers. It's more so like you said, the eye test. He's just slow. He doesn't have that ability to move upfield. And frankly, and I don't know if this is Kelsey or more so just the Chiefs offense, it always felt like Kelsey was always open during his best years. And he would always find pockets in the zone. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It does not feel like he's always open anymore. And I think some of that's probably defenses. They've maybe caught on to it a little bit, but I also think it's just him. Like you said, he's not as fast. The route running's not as crisp. He's just slow. He doesn't have that ability anymore to catch the ball and turn upfield. He's got the drops. He is cooked. Like 2023 was good. 2024 was awful. 2025 hasn't been good either. It hasn't been a slow decline. It's been a sudden drop off. So I don't know. There's part of me that still thinks he comes back, but what's the point? He's really only going to hurt himself by coming back, because the numbers, the play isn't going to get any better next year. He's going to be 37 years old. He's accomplished all he's needed to accomplish. Yeah. He's won 3 Super Bowls. I mean, he's put up, probably he'll hit over 13,000 yards in his career. He's already hit over 1,000 receptions. Like, he's done everything he needs to do. So we'll see. But yeah, this is kind of the end of the Mahomes, Pacheco, Kelsey era, if you want to call it that. Mahomes, Kelsey era. I still think the Chiefs are going to be back, though. Like, I still think they should field a solid team next year. There's a lot of people that think they're going to go. I don't believe that they're going to go through this like extensive rebuild. I think there's a good chance they could be right back in the playoffs. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, I don't. People are like, oh, the dynasty's over. I'm not saying that it's not over or it's going to continue, but not gonna sit here and say that the Chiefs are going to be terrible and they're going to win 5 games next year and then win 6 the year after that and kind of be like the team they were before Andy Reid took over. I don't.
You got to add some pieces in the draft. Add some pieces. Yeah, It's not a complete rebuild. I just think you kind of peel the layers back of what it was, and that's Kelsey and Pacheco. First and foremost, before you move on here briefly, they need a good running back. They need a solid running back. I'm sorry I'm about to say this to you. Go get Brees. If you're the Chiefs, you go get Brees. You go get Kyle Pitts. You just go get a retool at positions that need a minor tweak. We're not talking about a complete rehaul. And then you run it back. I mean, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Mahomes is still Mahomes, and Reid is still Reid. I will never count them out as long as those two are working hand in hand. But to say the Chiefs are completely cooked, 5 wins, 6 wins, no, not at all.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think they'll be back. Look, as long as they have Mahomes and he's healthy whenever he gets healthy, they're gonna compete. Look, a true rebuild is the Jets, just year in and year out sucking. Retool, reset, that's what every other team in the NFL does. Anyway, underdog picks. A little bit of a record update here. So I am 24-21. You are 21-24. So we are tight here. Getting down to the wire, final 3 weeks. We both took Packers plus 1.5 last night. That obviously did not hit. So we've now got to see if we can rebound and pick up 2 wins today. Do you want to begin?
Yeah. Wow. Can't believe they blew a 10-point lead in 2.5 minutes. But it's all right. We're going to bounce back today with the other two. First and foremost, give me the Chargers plus 1. If you're not betting on the Chargers today, you just don't know ball. Picking against my own team. Actually, I picked against them last week. I took the Vikings last week plus 5.5. We all see how that game went. So we're going to go with it again. Give me Chargers plus 1. Strictly just to win. I have no faith in this Dallas team. Season's over. So thank you, Jerry Jones, once again. And second pick is going to be Pats plus 3. I don't know if the line moved, but either way, I think the Pats win outright. I know they got Baltimore, and Baltimore is still fighting for a chance at the division, but I think New England bounces back after just a crucial meltdown last week against Buffalo, being up 21, I believe, in the first quarter. So give me New England to bounce back this week and get back into the winning column. And Green Bay count your days. That's all I got to say about that.
Yes. I'm right there with you on those. I also took Chargers plus 1. I had it at 1.5, but plus 1, same thing. Doesn't really matter a ton there. So I'll take the Chargers as well. I'm kind of surprised they're
underdogs. Just surprises me.
Yeah. And I know Baltimore's still fighting, and I know they're coming off of the impressive win last week against the Bengals, but I'm also kind of surprised I'm surprised they're a 3-point favorite. Yeah. Like maybe 1.5 or 1 I would understand, but 3 points is, I think, a decent amount. New England, I think, is going to be frustrated coming off of last week's loss. I think it's something that propels them. They kind of realize, hey, division race is a little bit back in the air. I think they take care of business tonight. So I'll also go Patriots plus 3 there. So same as you, and we will see how it all plays out. Hopefully go 2-0 this week or today, because last night was, disappointing.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
As usual, thank you for watching. Enjoy your holidays for those who do celebrate. You got some Christmas games, meaningless Christmas games, actually. All 3 of them don't mean anything, but
those games look awful.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're good games, but in the grand scheme of things, hopefully the games themselves turn out to be good, but they don't mean anything. Yeah. The NHL, or not the NHL, the NFL really screwed themselves, and I don't blame them. I mean, I don't think anybody expected them to be this bad, but putting the Commanders in all these primetime spots, just not it. I mean, you put them on there expecting to see Jaden Daniels, and we're seeing Marcus Mariota every single week. And we got Josh Johnson a little bit last night.
And Mariota's been playing decent. Josh Johnson was horrible, but
he hasn't been playing bad.
Playing decent. You went to the wire against Denver. You were in that game yesterday up until you got hurt. So, hey, he's been looking pretty good, but hopefully, we get some good games on Christmas, and then of course the slate on Sunday. So we will catch you guys next week, and thank you as always.
Yes, definitely happy holidays to everybody, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching.